distant lands we gather, hearts of fire all along. Oh, big Nick calls we follow, through the storm and through the fight. For Valhalla we will borrow strength and might under moonlight. Warriors of the ancient sea, songs of glory dark and bold. In the night, our spirits free, legends born, tales unfold. Oh, big Nick calls we follow, through the storm and through the fight. For Valhalla we will borrow strength and might under moonlight. From horizons wild we roam, with thunder in our soul. Every battle brings us home to the stories ages told. Oh, big Nick calls we follow, through the storm and through the fight. For Valhalla we will borrow strength and might under moonlight.
Hey yo folks, and welcome to this very impromptu stream. Damekion Garlington yesterday announced that he was going to take a non-negotiated Alford-plea. This is what Young Thug did. He put pleading guilty under the Alford rule to this, and then he's leaving it in the hands of Judge Whittaker. Now that worked out for Young Thug quite decently. I have no idea how how it will go this time for Mr. Garlington, because the original charges were murder and attempted murder, and his Alford plea is 2 counts of aggravated assault. So, and now it's sentencing before Judge Whittaker. So let's go right into it. We are a bit behind, so I'm playing in one. I didn't know this was occurring.
All right, we're on the record in case number 23 SC 1835572. This is a sentencing hearing for Mr. Garlington, who entered a guilty plea to certain of the counts against him yesterday. Okay, and we're on hold. They need a Zoom link.
Yeah, Mr.
Just use the one
Big Play Bray.
right now.
We are 20 minutes
Miss
behind,
Warwick.
so I'm playing in 1.25. So this is
And I
happening
guess does
today,
the state need it?
now as we speak.
Oh, we ready?
Hey, Erin.
Okay. All right, so is the state going to go first? And I don't know what the recommendations are at this point, so if y'all could let me know that as well.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Oh,
They were here regarding sentencing.
Hold on.
for Damekion Garlington. Yesterday, Mr. Johnson pled to count 1 of this indictment, which is conspiracy to commit. the
oh,
rape
hello,
of
Miss Hilton.
organization. And Count 42, participation in street day activity. Count 49, which is aggravated assaults, but murder, reduced to aggravated assault. Count 50, participation in street day activity. And count 54, possession of firearm during commission of felony.
Mhm.
Those charges are total exposure of 85.
Right.
As you heard yesterday, Mr. Garlington is currently on probation, indicted 15 SC 138894 for crimes associated with the April 28, 2015 drive-by shooting of Bell Avenue and Drew Drive. He received a total sentence of 15 years to 5 years in confinement. That probation ends on December 27, 2029. The state brings that up, Your Honor, because as a general condition of probation, Mr. Garlington was not to violate any criminal laws. And as a special condition of that probation, He was to have no direct or indirect contact with any YSL members, no contact with any gang members, and no gang-related social media.
All right, and is the state seeking to revoke that probation?
Not at this time. No. And while we're not here for a probation revocation matter, the state thought it was important for this sentencing court to be aware of what Mr. Garlington was required to do, because he has failed to comply with any of those conditions. Instead, Mr. Garlington chose to continue to associate with YSL gang members, to include Shannon Stillwell, Kenneth Copeland, Jeffrey Williams, Khalid Adams, Jaden Myrick, Pontavious Greer, that's the name of you. He then engaged in a conspiracy to attack a rival gang member, Rashawn Bennett, who was stabbed in the Fulton County Jail. That incident ultimately led to a retaliatory shooting that killed Christian McMiller and Darius Ford, and that murder led to another retaliatory shooting in which the state believes that Mr. Garlington was a part of, which was a retaliatory shooting that killed Mr. Shamel Drinks on March 14, 2022. After Mr. Drinks was murdered, it was Mr. Garlington on his social media post that said, "We got you, boys." And this was only hours after the murder. And the state believes that was to indicate that he, along with Shannon Stillwell, avenged their friend's death. And even after that murder, it was Mr. Garlington talking with other gang members over the phone while certain individuals were in custody to get protection for fellow YSL.
I assume all of this is bullshit, just as everything was in the original trial.
The state has taken into consideration a number of different factors. Mr. Garlington's previous criminal history, Mr. Garlington's involvement with the YSL gang from 2015, his continued gang involvement even while on probation, and Your Honor, we have certainly taken into consideration the results of the previous trial that we had before Your Honor. Given that, Your Honor, it is the state's recommendation that for count 1, RICO, 20 years to serve in confinement. Count 42, participation in criminal street gang activity, which would be 20 years to serve, concurrent with count 1. Count 49, aggravated assault, 20 years to serve, consecutive.
This is so stupid. They are asking for 20 years in prison.
Count 41, count 50, participation in criminal street gang activity, 20 years to serve, consecutive to count 1, but on probation. Count 54, possession of a firearm during the condition of felony, 5 years to serve, consecutive to count 50, for a total sentence of 45 years to serve, with 20 years in custody.
So 20 years in prison plus 25 years probation. This is so insanely stupid. They have no shame. They
or gun replicas, no gang paraphernalia.
Hang on.
If he has not obtained his GED, be in school or gainfully employed, and any Fourth Amendment waiver, including social media. The state did have, just as some evidence in sentencing, Your Honor, these are items that were presented during the first trial, but some of the social media posts that led
for fuck's sake.
murder of Mr. Drinks, Your Honor.
The Drinks murder. Yeah, that is what they are trying to pin him on. The drive-by. We know that was bullshit. Every
Your Honor,
single
first, Exhibit 1,
item they presented to the court in trial for the Drinks murder was absolute and utter bullshit.
YSL associates Christian McMiller prior to his death, Your Honor. The third one is Mr. Garlington sitting with his head towards the camera with previous co-defendant Antonio Sullivan.
Please, Judge Whitaker, do this as you did with Mr. Williams. You already found most of this crap was unsubstantiated, especially since they handed out, especially since they offered plea deals with only probation very early on to get people to snitch. But now they're asking 20 plus 25.
You may. Any objection to those?
And Your Honor, we do not have any victim impact statements for the sentencing hearing, and so with that concludes.
All right.
Here, I want to clarify, I did 45 years, serve 20 years in confinement with a balance on probation.
Right. Yeah, that's what I understood it to be. Thank you. Good afternoon.
So we were grateful for the negotiations that we were able to get to at least partially. We couldn't get there on the numbers, but we got there on the charges. The state's indicating what they took into consideration, making this I guess kind of balancing what we were requesting. But I do want to just run through a little bit of Mr. Garlington's situation and juxtapose it to the other defendants. And then at some point, as it pertains to the charges here and in the indictment, I don't believe I didn't put anyone as alleged he was here. And at some point in that 2015 incident, which is why he is on probation, he did cooperate with law enforcement. He gave a statement. They were questioning him about 2 things. He thought they were only asking him about 1, and he did admit his involvement in 1. His original sentence was pending 2, and then ultimately he was resentenced to 15 to 5 credit for time served. I do want to point out that that probation violation was his location. It wasn't for him committing a new offense. It was for him being associated with a gang member. I don't have the case off the top of my head, but 2024 case, and this was concerning the overly broad terms that pertain to child molester sentence, and said that it's overly broad to that sentence do not have any contact indirectly with children. Right? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was more that the condition that said stay away from anywhere that a child might be was overbroad, but I know the case you're talking about.
Yeah, and so same situation here. I believe it might be a bit of, but I just want to highlight the notes out of there that he was not engaged in committing a criminal offense. He wasn't subsequently charged or anything. And that revocation took place in 2020. We don't have him down for any other incidents until 2022. And that's where I would like to direct the court to his 2022 situation. Of course, here's the overview of the charges. Of course, we're aware of RICO and what the overacts are. Most of the overacts are pictures, posts, and conversations amongst friends. Then we turn to the jail incident. During the time of the jail incident, custody, there was conversation between Mr. Adams. We went through most of this yesterday on the Zoom.
Right.
But he didn't. What wasn't necessarily within the text message was there was a confirmation from him saying, "Oh gosh, did you guys get this done?" Or "Wow." There was no request from him to make it public. Throughout the course of this, we've heard that the gang members seek recognition and acknowledgement, and most of the time they post their wins and whatever is happening. There's no evidence of that, and seeking to say, "Hey, post this, let them know that this happened, let them know that I was involved here." He's not bragging about it. There's no evidence of him taking credit for it, and there's no evidence that he paid for it. The state's theory is that he was involved in some sort of payment for this incident to take place, and the evidence just doesn't support that. In fact, from the incident reports from the jail incident, it seemed like they had gotten into an argument with Mr. Myrick and Mr. Bennett before this happened. Mr. Myrick had been wandering around for a while. I'm going to touch just a snippet of that. He'd been outside of, they were both in protected custody, he'd been outside the cell, and then at some point Mr. Bennett was let out. Mr. Bennett had time to do his jail, or his video visit in peace, and then some sort of argument ensued, and that's when they got into it. As it pertains to what happened with the Drinks case, I'm sure the court heard that. I just want to reiterate just this.
I remember it.
Okay, no need to play it, Your Honor. But as it concerns Mr. Garlington, still we have no direct evidence of him being at the location. We don't have evidence of him being in the car, so DNA. I think that's like a big deal. This again, there was very little evidence found in the vehicle to begin with for anyone. There's no evidence that they had planned to do this, and the post that was made after, and I get what the state would like for Mr. Garlington's intent to be behind the post, but it had nothing to do with Mr. Prince. I don't think We Got Y'all Boys is just like a general statement of support. They were going to the studio that day. I'm not sure what inside jokes they might have shared, but I just am hesitant without there being other evidence to infer nefarious intent to a post that's so general in that nature. Of course, the video that the court is aware of doesn't even support, even if there was a reach put within the court, it doesn't support them. There isn't a circumstantial evidence placed in there. There is enough from their FBI situation with the cell phone, but even with that, there's conflicting evidence as to the cell phone tower. At some point early March, there was a wiretap placed on Mr. Garlington's phone. The FBI compiled this location data based upon his cell phone records. However, the wiretap is getting real-time locations of incidents. So this is what the FBI's looks like, and it's tracking. And the shooting takes place around 10 p.m. So it got his time located from 9:36 until about 9:59 right here. What's interesting with the cell phone, the wiretap data, is that it shows that he's traveling up I-85, and where his cell phone peaks up, it bounces from one tower to the next. Where it ends up is north and that's this direction. I think it's north and east. North of 20, east of 85. And so that incident location takes place west of 85 and south of 20. So then 9:48, it's only pinging up in that direction, which is more indicative of that he was traveling up 85 separately, whatever, and then came down. And that is consistent with him being found on the highway, not necessarily in the location. That real-time data at no point puts in where the location of the incident was or the gas station. But again, circumstantial evidence can go either way. And so Mr. Garlington was willing to take the risk on that case of Alford-plea. But I would like the court to consider the sentences of other individuals in this case based upon their leadership role, Mr. Garlington's lack of leadership role, his cooperation with no evidence that he directly harmed anybody in this one. For a lot of the previous defendants, there was no direct, or maybe there was enough guilty enough there was a presentation of evidence of direct harm. And his prior felony conviction. So what we would ask the court for is a global 40-10 and credit for time served with balance suspended, and how we envision that would be 25 on count 1, credit for time served balance suspended, count 42, 10 years probation, consecutive, count 1, count 49, 20 years probation, concurrent with count 1.
How many?
20. Count 50, 10 years probation consecutive to count 42, and count 54, 5 years to serve balance suspended. Credit for time served balance suspended.
54.
So if I did the calculations correctly, they are asking for 40 years probation and 5 years in prison with time served.
It looks to me like that adds up to, let me read that back to you. What the recommendation is, y'all are recommending 20, serve 5, balance suspended on count 1, 10 probation consecutive to count 1 on 42, 20 probation concurrent with count 1 on 49, 10 probation consecutive to 42. Is that what you said, or to 49 on count 50?
It was consecutive to 42.
Okay, that's what I thought you said. And then on 54, 5 to serve consecutive to 40 to 50 and suspended. I don't know. What is it? What are you suggesting? Trying to understand what your recommendation is.
I think the 5 was to serve concurrent, and then
54 has to be consecutive, right?
I'm sorry, it doesn't.
Oh, it's Strinton. Okay. So I was correct. The state seeks 20 years in prison plus 25 years probation. And if my math is correct here, the defense is saying 5 years in prison, time served or whatever, and then plus 40 years probation.
So that would really be 45, right?
Yeah. Yes.
To serve. And you said 45 served 10, but I don't see where that's coming from.
I'm sorry, 45, 35, because I didn't do the balance of the weapons charge.
Usually when we heard Whitaker's
All right,
sentence,
anything else you want to present?
Yeah, sure. What we envisioned was not to just come in and blindly ask the court to give him probation without money. I don't know what the court's take is on this, but a lot of this seems to be the situation where we have back and forth. Something happens to someone, and we have something happen to someone else. We're trying to minimize his involvement going forward and his need to engage in other criminal activity.
Well, there's never a need to engage in
Yes,
criminal.
correct.
I want to rephrase that.
What, or the perception, right? So what I've seen here is, without throwing anybody else under the bus, other individuals still carrying weapons under a presuming that would be the reason why, that you feel that you are somewhat at risk, despite that being against the terms of your probation and against
The
what you're
law.
lawfully allowed to do. I don't even want the feeling of that, and I think the best way to alleviate that risk feeling is to remove Mr. Garland from these situations and to have a plan going forward
Okay.
about what he's going to do with his life.
Mhm.
He and I have spoken extensively about it. Of course, one cannot make plans from inside the jail to an extent. A lot of his plans involve leaving
Yeah.
the state entirely.
Mr. Garlington has been in jail since
That will be a
2022.
risk.
Okay.
It's not just a risk for him, but as we've seen in the facts here, it becomes family members, other people, friends that become unintended targets of these various acts. On short notice, we weren't able to lock in a lot of provisions for what he could do and what we hope he's going to do. But I do want to stand with at least discuss with you about the plans that they have, so that the court understands that we're not just saying, hey, just let them go. We'll hope for the best. No, we have something.
Okay, have you discussed with the family what those plans are?
I have.
Okay, well, why don't you let me know what they are?
So generally speaking, his mom is a business owner. She owns a number of businesses. And so she's able to employ him. It's like one is like a lawn care service. She's got several contracts for that.
Is this local?
Not local in Atlanta. I think it's Metro Atlanta. Is that correct? Yeah.
Pretty local.
Um,
What other ideas?
So that would just be the first one.
Yep.
I would like for her to speak about who she reached out to out of state. So she's got other relatives out of state that she was able to speak to. I wasn't able to speak with them directly, so that's why I went to the court to allow her to communicate directly about what those plans are.
Okay.
Would you like me to go ahead on?
Not to just tell me what her idea is for his rehabilitation. Good afternoon.
My name is Marquita Johnson. I am Damekion's maternal aunt. I am a native of Atlanta. I'm a military veteran. I do own two businesses here in DeKalb County. One is a Swan Wellness Retreat, and the other is a boxing gym, which my partner and I own together. This was a very short notice. I do understand as far as my goal is to get him out of Atlanta as a whole. Prior to his arrest, I had taken him on his first out of town trip to get him acclimated to traveling and just seeing what was outside of Atlanta. I was stationed on the West Coast in California. I have several connections there, and as well as Virginia, mostly states where military people reside. I have reached out to a few of my fellow shipmates who are now retired, like I am, that are in a position of mentorship. I feel like for Damekion's safety and as well as my family's safety, it is best for him to relocate as a whole. And also to have realistic expectations. I have in the past had custody of Damekion. He knows I run a very strict household, but even as an adult, at this point, he needs to have a curfew because outside is not the greatest place right now. So even under the terms of him being able to come for immediate employment, my partner is also law enforcement as well in Rockdale County. So in order for him to come and gain employment with us, he will have very strict accommodations. And like I said, the long term is to get him relocated out of it.
All right, thank you. How much time has Mr. Garlington already served on this case?
Your Honor, Mr. Garlington has been in since September 28, 2022, which was 974 days.
2.5 years.
All right, anything else from the defense?
2.5 years in jail. More than that. 2 years and 10 months in jail for honestly, absolutely shit charges.
I checked, I see it.
Ms. Shelley, can you let me know what you show for his time served so far?
As far as the jail
Pre-trial?
law, say what now?
Pre-trial? Yeah, well, yeah, in jail.
I don't have access to the
don't?
pre-trial system, just really
Oh.
gonna need.
Okay. Well, darn. What do you show?
I
I
have
mean, there's an arrest date of May 11th, 2022. Whether he was released and rearrested, I don't know. Oh, okay. Yeah, well, that part I don't think would count in his favor. I don't really know how they.
I have sound
But it wasn't
600%
in
enhanced.
prison. It
It
would've been for
just
some other case.
is the best I can do.
That's the case. Even though he went to prison. Okay, I'm not saying his prison time.
I
I'm
know.
talking about when he was first arrested. Was May 11, 2022.
Okay,
on
well,
these charges.
it's either 974 days or 974 days plus about 4 more months, right? All right. All right. Anything else from the defense? All right. Any rebuttal, I guess, from the state, which I don't know if that's a thing, but anything else from the state?
No, Your Honor, I believe that you've heard a number of
The wiretap evidence, within the first trial, Your Honor, that we don't need to reiterate. It is the state's position that Mr. Garlington was given an opportunity to redeem himself when he was resentenced in 2020. And as opposed to working with his aunts or as opposed to leaving the state then, that's not what he did. He re-engaged in gang activity in which we have the text messages regarding the
No, Miss Hilton. The entirety of the YSL RICO case is from start to finish a pile of horse shit. From start to finish. And you know it. The wiretaps says nothing. The social media post says nothing. The evidence you had, I wouldn't bring to an Islamic Sharia court asking for something. It is so horrendously bad that people who chose to prosecute in the YSL RICO should not practice law.
the stabbing of Mr. Bennett. And while there might not have been payment, Mr. Adams, after the stabbing of Mr. Bennett, surely reached out to Mr. Garlington on multiple occasions to try to get payment for that particular incident, and either
That
never
doesn't prove
transpired, but
anything.
there was some expectation of payment for that act to be completed. Again, after the murder of Mr. Drinks, there was laughing about the murder on the wiretap. There was a concern about cleaning the vehicle. And that is all from Mr. Garlington's mouth and words. There was concern that other co-defendants were going to tell. And how do we get that person not to speak? So Mr. Garlington unfortunately never learned his lesson the first time around. If he
All right.
had, maybe we wouldn't have been here, and that's
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to take about a 10-minute recess and I'll be back with the sentence.
All right. So this is what we have here. State is asking for 20 years in prison plus 25 years probation. The defense is asking for 5 years time served plus 40 years probation. Now we are a bit behind, so let me skip ahead. Okay, they are back.
Can the state provide what the statute for aggravated assault is on that lesser on 49? Thanks. 49, yeah. You have this. Okay. Yes. And they
2.5 years in Fulton County jails.
43 and 51.
That would break
All right,
anyone.
we're back on the record.
And
And
that
I've
is
taken
why
into
he's
consideration
taking this
the state's recommendation, the defense recommendation, the evidence that's been presented. I also am obviously aware of the evidence that was presented in the other trial, and I have taken a look back at the sentences that this court imposed for co-defendants from the prior trial, including co-defendants who were charged with some of the counts that Mr. Garlington is currently charged with and has entered an Alford guilty plea to. Also taken into consideration his prior record as well as the prior records in the other cases in which this court sentenced. Also, other than one of the sentences imposed by this court in the first trial, the sentences that were imposed were joint recommendations, and I've taken that into consideration as well. The sentence for count 1, which is the RICO count, is going to be 20 years to serve 5, the balance of 15 probated. Count 42, the sentence is 20 years, serve 5, balance probated, concurrent. The sentence on count 1 reduced, I'm sorry, not 1, count 49 reduced to aggravated assault under OCGA 16-5-21. Is that what you said, 21? Okay. Is 20 years to serve 5 with the balance probated, concurrent with the other sentences. And I'll note in that regard that one of the defendants charged with that set of crimes was found not guilty, and 2 others, the state decided to null pros the counts against them. In count 50, the sentence is 20 years, serve 5, balance probated, concurrent. And then the sentence for count 54 is going to be 5 years consecutive to count 50. And it can be suspended upon successful completion of probation. So that's essentially 20 years, 5 to serve with credit for time served, 15 years probated, followed by 5 to serve, which can be suspended and will be suspended as long as the probation is successfully completed. Special conditions of the probation: no contact with.
Okay, she went even lighter than the defense asked for. So 25 served, probated, most of it concurrent. Then the last was plus 5 years in prison that can and will be gone if he is successful in his probation. So 5 years in prison. He has been in for 2 years and 10 months with 80% of its service. He should have less than a year in prison, followed by 15 years probation. Or maybe even earlier. I'm not entirely sure how much more he should, somewhere between 6 months and a year more in prison.
With any of the victims in this entire indictment or with any of their family members. No contact with any gang members from any gang whatsoever. No gang paraphernalia, no gang associations. no guns, no replicas of guns. You need to secure full-time employment within the first 6 months after you're released from probation. You need to sign a social media waiver and a Fourth Amendment waiver. And that is going to mean that during the entirety of your probation, law enforcement at any time they want to can look at your social media posts, can search your person, can search your home, can search your car with or without probable cause to ensure that you do not have any gang paraphernalia, any guns, any drugs, anything you are not supposed to have. You need to secure your GED, which I know you told me yesterday you were working on it and had gotten to parts of that already. Go ahead and get the rest of it within the first year of your probation. And I am going to require that you stay out of Fulton County for the entirety of your probation. All right, that is the sentence of the court. I hope that, as I have said with the other defendants whom I've sentenced, that this has been an opportunity for you to realize that the direction that your life was going is not a good direction, and that you are determined at this point to turn your life around and make good decisions from here on out. Associate yourself only with people that are going to help you to stay on the straight and narrow. So you've got a little bit of time left to serve before you're released. I think a couple of years at least, but go ahead and do that. You can be working on your GED and on job skills while you're in prison. Good luck to you. And I hope not to ever see you again, because if you violate your probation, you're coming before me. So let's make that not be a thing. Okay. All right. Good luck to you.
You want me to add that?
What?
In violation
Back to
of
me.
that?
Yeah. All right. That concludes court for the day.
Oh, yeah, she went lighter than the defense asked. Now she said, now you will have a couple of more years, but he has been inside for 2.5 years. Well, 5 years. That is an additional 2.5 years. So yeah, 1.5 years to 2 years more in prison, and then he's on probation. And I think she had that in because he does have prior convictions. Mr. Williams didn't. And then it was fun to see her looking at the looking at the prosecution and saying, hey, you know that in this specific charge, one was found not guilty and the others were clean probation. Yeah, you're not getting anything for that. You can't claim accessory when people are acquitted. I mean, it's so Judge Whitaker knows exactly the pile of manure the case was, but it's a plea deal. So here we are. Damekion Garlington, also known as Scarface. He's sentenced to 5 years, credit for time served, so 2.5 years. Should be out within 2 years. And then 15 years probation. If he's successful in his probation, the final 5 years will be pardoned, more or less. And I see here, it's Trinta says he's banned from Fulton County while on probation. Yeah. I have no idea how that works, because at least over here, you can only be banned from places where you are if there is a victim living in that place. And then it has to be specified to a specific area. But in Fulton County, you can send people off to other counties. Okay. But yeah. And folks, then there were just two. Then there was just two left. And let's see here. Ooh. Well, I will take that up in another video or stream, who is left and what they are charged with. But we're down to two. And as I said when I started this, 2 years ago. Gavel to gavel, folks. Gavel to gavel. So whenever there's news about the final two, if there will be a trial or if it won't be, you will hear it on my channel. All right, folks. Thank you for listening in. Thank you for allowing me to do this. And remember, folks, hug your family. Unless your family's crap, then screw them and give your love to the people who deserve it. And I will see you at 4:15 p.m. today for the recap of today's Karen retrial. All right. See ya. Bye-bye.